depending on where you're calling from. We are so excited you are here. You guys, if you have not joined the chat conversation, please jump over into the chat. So your chat icon is on the bottom of your screen if you're calling in from your computer. Sometimes on your phone, it's under like three dots, and then you can click chat. But introduce yourself. We would love to know where you're calling from, what kind of work you're looking for. If you want to drop in your LinkedIn URL, that's always a bonus because then we can connect with each other. So, and you all can connect with each other. My name's Jessica Pierce, and I am so excited to be here today. I get the honor of running this organization, and which we have been doing for the last 17 years. And so, welcome, welcome. We have some incredible speakers today that I think are going to be super helpful to you as you are moving into this next phase or looking for your next career opportunity. But before we get started, I do have a question for you all, and I'm going to have you drop it in the chat. I'm going to give you three options. And so if you are actively in career search, like you are looking for a job today, right now, drop a one. If you are kind of, I'm thinking about a career shift, maybe something different, drop a two. And if you are a volunteer, a speaker, here to support, a community resource, drop a three. Let's see who we have on the call today. So great. The good news is, you guys, and we do have a mix today. We have a lot of people that are actively in career transition. I personally know of, at least in our area, that there have been some large layoffs. And so I know people are coming in that are brand new into this. I also know many of you on the call that have been doing this for a while and are like, I'm ready. It's time. It's time to find that next great opportunity. So wherever you are, whatever phase you're in this, know that there are people here that would like to support you. So there are resources on the call. So you'll see people talking in the chat. If you have questions about the speaker content, or just questions in general, drop them in the chat. We have coaches on the line today. We have LinkedIn coaches, resume writers, a lot of different resources. So please feel free to drop in the chat. We have experts on the call that aren't even volunteering, they're attending, but they have a ton of expertise. And so please go ahead and drop your questions in the chat today. And so, a little bit about Career Connectors. We are all about connecting you guys to great resources. We're bringing resources and connections. And so, this is what we've done. We've been doing it in a virtual format primarily for the last, well, since COVID, when we went from in-person programming to online programming. So, Jess, you can go ahead and move on to the next couple slides. If you are interested in closed captioning, that is available to you as well. It's under the more option. Oops, let's mute here. It's under the more option, and you can see the transcriptions that are available for you. And so that's also where your breakout sessions are going to be later today. And so a little bit about our agenda today. We are going to hear from Gina Riley on the missing through line, turn your experience into clear positioning. And so if you are kind of trying to figure out what does my next step look like, and how do I get there, this is for you. This is for you today. And then a hot topic we all are having to be familiar with right now is AI. And so Minky is going to talk about AI ready, skills to thrive in the future of work. So this is less about how to create a resume or an interview with AI, and it's more about here's what AI looks like in the future for work. And it was really important for us to bring in somebody that has experience in this space that could speak to this. And so, is AI taking my job? Is AI taking all the jobs? Those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. And then we will close it out with some resources. And then about 10:30, that is Pacific Standard Time. At 10:30, we will go into breakout sessions. So what that means is all of our speakers, our volunteers, our coaches, which are, by the way, professional trained coaches, are going to be in different breakout rooms. And you can jump over and talk to them, ask them questions. If you heard some content, you have some questions on, if you're dealing with something individually, the breakout room is the way to go. So don't miss out on that opportunity to have your resume reviewed, to talk about your LinkedIn profile, to get a review of your profile, all of those kind of things. We also have Best Companies AZ here with us, and Sydney is on the call. So I saw her already active in the chat. She's going to be answering some things. And Best Companies AZ has a large pool of hiring companies that they represent. They're not a staffing firm, but they're more on the PR media side. So, but they help companies with their jobs. And so they have a lot of great jobs for award-winning companies. And then we will close out at 11:30 today. So great. Thank you all for engaging in the chat. This is awesome. If you aren't sure how to drop your LinkedIn URL in, let me just walk you through that real quick. So you open up a browser window separate from this call, open up a browser window, go to LinkedIn. And so you're logged into your profile. And then the way it's easiest for me is I just click on the little picture I see of myself, click on the picture, and then that URL in the top search bar, that's what you want to copy and paste. So just right click, copy, and then drop it. And you can see how Tamra dropped hers in where it's blue. So that means you click on her profile or click on that blue link and it'll go right out there. It turns blue if you copy and paste it with directly. So you just go out to your profile, that search URL, just copy and then paste that right in here. And then, so great. Good morning. Thank you. Let's see. That's Derek and Corey and Jane. Perfect. So then you all can connect with each other and connect with us, and it's all about connections. Because we know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody is likely the way you're going to get into a company and land a job once you have defined what that job looks like that you're interested in. Okay, so we are going to get started with Gina. So excited to hear Gina's talk. Gina and I have a lot of commonalities and have a background at a large company out in Arizona. Well, actually throughout the US, but that we have our time with. But Gina is transforming how people approach job search and career transitions. With nearly a decade of experience in corporate HR at Intel and as an executive search consultant for Talents Group, she has led searches for CEOs, COOs, and additional executives across various industries and trained hundreds in talent selection. She's also gained insight into how to stand out in competitive leadership searches. She developed Career Velocity framework, an action-oriented system helping executives navigate successful transitions. She's also a successful keynote speaker. She's spoken at Disrupt HR and a recognized thought leader. She has a master's degree and is a certified UMAP coach and an expert in behavioral interview skills. So her expertise is around networking, and she is an official member of the Forbes Coaches Council and author of Qualified Isn't Enough. Develop Your Story, Land the Interview, Win the Job, and Advantage Forbes books. And so Gina is here today to share all about the career transition space. We are so honored to have you. So please help me welcome Gina Riley.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so honored. Thank you, Jessica, for inviting me into this space. I'm excited to interact with all of you. I want to remind you that we will have our eyes on the chat. So if you have on-topic related questions that relate to what I'm presenting today, please put those in the chat. We're going to try to get to those, and I'll be in a breakout room if I don't get to that. So we are going to go ahead and hit it. Whoops. So today we are going to tackle how to explain complicated career stories. Put it in the chat if you are thinking, yeah, I have a complicated career story. I've been across multiple industries, or I've had different kinds of jobs, or what I've done is very complex, and I'm having a really hard time helping other people understand what I do. And understanding what we do starts with us, and then we have to communicate it to others so that we get referrals, like what Jessica started with. We know referrals are the best way to land that next job. So today, the agenda for this section of our time together is we're going to talk about the career story, and finding your through line. I will be sharing with you information and frameworks, not just tips, but frameworks that will help you understand how you might go about breaking down your story so you can find your through line. I'll explain what that is. And I will explain my 3/3 framework so that you can remember your story. That's half the battle. We'll talk about why an elevator pitch is not the same as the answer to tell me about yourself. Such an important question that we all have to answer all the time. And then we'll do some Q&A. I have a lot of slides. So we will get through those pretty quickly. I talk rather quickly as well. So I encourage you, if you are folding laundry or running around your house and you're just listening, you may want to stop and you may want to go open a Word document, Google Doc, or get a notepad because you may want to take a few notes. I'm going to give you as much content and as much help as I can in this 50 minutes. Jessica did a beautiful job introducing me, so I'm not going to go through all the proof points on my credibility slide, but suffice it to say that one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is creating my career velocity system. It's a 9-step model. I will be laser focused on very specific aspects of my career velocity model, which I cover in my book, Qualified Isn't Enough, with as many frameworks as I could cram into a little book. So Qualified Isn't Enough isn't a book about tips. A lot of us who are in career transition, we're absorbing content on LinkedIn, we're attending webinars, we're listening to podcasts, we're reading, we're doing all these things. And then we think, how do I execute on all of this? So that's what my book is designed to do, is help give you these frameworks in my 9-step model. So I have a question for you. Fingers on the keyboard. Ready? Why do you think some candidates who are very qualified get overlooked? Why do you think candidates who are qualified get overlooked? I'm going to give you my own answer. Age, too many candidates. ATS, high volume of applicants. LinkedIn isn't optimized. Salary, yep. AI, not the right words on the resume. So that ATS mismatch, absolutely. Age and resume isn't ATS searchable. Yep, lousy resume. I love the description there. So one of the things that I have noticed in working with many, many leaders and executives who are in career transition is rambling. The rambling candidate. The very first paragraph of my book in the introduction, which I'm happy to share with any of you, if you direct message me, I will send you the intro in a PDF form of my book. The first paragraph basically says I was interviewing a CEO level candidate. This man was over 60 years old. And I told him I had 8 skill-based questions that I had to get through because I needed to compare his skills to the other candidates I was interviewing during the executive search. But I wanted him to give me a 5-minute highlights reel, the tell me about yourself. I needed just a place to hang my hat for the conversation. And this man spoke for 20 minutes of the 60. I only got to about 4 questions plus. I talk fast, I move fast, so I got a lot done, but I wasn't able to compare him to the other candidates. And he did not demonstrate executive presence in that he did not read the room. I told him exactly what I needed, and he couldn't follow that 60-minute guideline. And so this is why we're here today, is to help you think about whether or not are you saying the right things quickly, articulately, and getting there so that the people that know you the best can refer you. We're going to be discussing how to hone that today. I also want to address, before we start talking about your career story and your career thread, the difference between the elevator pitch and the tell me about yourself. I wrote a Forbes Coaches Council article about a year ago. It's called Using Your Elevator Pitch Might Be Costing You Opportunities. How many people, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat, how many of you heard or thought to yourself, I gotta go get my elevator pitch together. I gotta get my elevator pitch, right? Here is the main difference. The elevator pitch puts us into a feeling that we have to sell ourselves. It's a pitch. And when you're on an elevator, how long is that ride? 60, 90 seconds? and you're like trying to blast something out to somebody to get their attention, it is completely different than what we as recruiters are asking for when we say, tell me about yourself. It is a highlights reel. It's hitting the high points that help people understand the journey in 3 to 5 minutes. If you're early career, it's going to be on the lower end of that. If you're a 65-year-old executive, it's going to be on the higher end. But you have to have this tight, and everyone you speak to is going to need to know this from you, even if they know you very well, but cannot speak on your behalf yet because they don't know what to say. So I encourage you to disregard elevator pitch and start thinking about answering, tell me about yourself. So resumes and elevator pitches are not enough to sell you. You've got to be able to tell your story succinctly and quickly to get people's attention, because we need those referrals. We need people to advocate for us. One thing in the 2-Hour Job Search by Steve Dalton, I'm a big fan of his work, is he talks about gaining advocacy, gaining people's advocacy so that they want to refer us, and navigating conversations so we get those conversations going. So what we want for you today is to be thinking about, how can I tell my stories flexibly? You will come up through your career transition process with probably 8 to 10 solid interview stories about your past, full of the impact that you create when you go to work. But not all of those stories need to be told exactly the same to every different kind of decision maker you're going to talk with. So we want you to have that story straight for yourself before you write a resume, before you update your LinkedIn profile, and before you try to get people to refer you into opportunities. So what is the real challenge, the real problem with our ability to tell our stories? We're living inside of our own jar. It's hard to read the label when we're inside of the jar. We know what we did, but there's all these contextual things that lie underneath our stories that people need to hear and feel from us. What is the context or relevancy for any of the stories that we're telling? Are you telling the right stories? Are you connecting with those decision makers based on what they care about the most? What is keeping them up at night? And can you tell your stories of impact so that you can demonstrate that you are the unique problem solver that they need right now, urgently? So this is where we're kind of heading with this conversation. So most people are told to start their career transition process here. And what you see on this slide are steps 6 and steps 8 of my career velocity model. So what happens oftentimes, right, Jessica, we know so many people that have been laid off and they're told, go start getting your resume together. But what's going on the resume, right? We have to go back and start thinking about what are the stories that need to be on there, not just regurgitating everything. And so what I encourage you to do, especially if you're newly laid off, is to not just go to your resume development and get on your networking horse and start writing it, because the stories probably haven't been fully developed yet. And if you start here, you may set yourself back many months trying to navigate conversations that are not going anywhere because you haven't sharpened these stories. So today, what we'll be talking about is part of phase 1 of what you need to be doing. Phase 1 includes, first, understanding your own unique identifiers. I personally use a tool called the UMAP Career Profile Assessment. And the UMAP helps us understand our top strengths, find our strengths, our values, what we care about professionally in our work, our motivated and burnout skills, and our personality. So in the career velocity system, you're starting with you. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? And then we move into step 2. What is your leadership approach? So that you can infuse that approach into your storytelling. And then the third step is telling your career story and understanding what those themes and patterns are in your career. What are you most uniquely known to do? This is going to strengthen all of your marketing. Step 4 is accounting for all of your career results. I call that the career data vault. And then finally, you end with your narrative, which is the tell me about yourself. And when you work through this layer of phase 1, now you can start building your resume. And now you can start updating your LinkedIn profile. And then you will have all of the information you need to build your interview stories and start your job search strategy. So today, we are going to be focusing on mostly step 3, the career story, and my frameworks there, and a little bit on the career results so you can kind of see how they play together as you build the team A, the tell me about yourself. So your resume is a receipt, but the through line, what is woven through your storytelling that will help people understand what you do best and why you do it. And I'm so excited today because I have brought in one of my most complicated client stories to demonstrate what I'm talking about, because some of the people that I have worked with, if we can unravel those stories, I know it's possible for just about anybody. So hopefully this presentation will give you some hope that this is doable. So this is a quote I love from Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so what we're doing is trying to help you bring forward the what and the why and the how. All right. The other thing we're trying to do here is take what I call the Frankenstein story, that jumble that's in your head and in your heart and weighing you down as you try to tell those stories. What stories am I trying to tell? And helping other people connect the dots because you've connected the dots for yourself first. You must do this, you must own this, and you must not allow other people to unravel it on your behalf and hope that they refer you. You've got to take these steps for yourself. So what is the career through line? Here we go. So this is related to chapter 3 in the book Qualified Isn't Enough. It is a cohesive thread that runs through your roles, your choices, and your motivations. It's part of your storytelling. So your story's power lies in how you integrate your experiences, your strengths, your values, your leadership approach, and your career highlights into a cohesive narrative. So you're going to hear me saying this repeatedly. You need to know all of this about yourself. You're not going to show up in an interview and say, here's my top StrengthsFinder strengths. That's not what a recruiter needs to hear from you. What they need to hear from you is how you apply your expertise, and your strengths will shine through your storytelling. Does that make sense? For those of you who are StrengthsFinder fans, put that in the chat. I get it. You know who you are, how you do what you do. Infuse it into your storytelling. Okay, so why does your through line matter? It helps you build confidence in building a coherent story, and it's going to give all of your stories a lot of power. And when you build the tell me about yourself, I call it the team A, it makes it stickier for other people. First, you have to be able to remember it, but then other people need to get you so that they can refer you. So let's talk about this framework of uncovering your career thread. I promised you not just tips, but frameworks today, something you can walk away with. So it's a 4-step process. First, you need to gather all of your materials that relate to your impact, past resumes, having your LinkedIn profile up, pulling up, past performance reviews, etc. I'm going to go into that just a little more detail with the next slide. Then you're going to reflect on all of that content and material and identify the themes and patterns of your career, because you're going to write out your story, and it's going to probably take you a couple of hours. And then you're going to draft a narrative, and I'm going to show you my framework for drafting that narrative at a high level. So gathering everything includes there's a whole list that I have in my book, but I already mentioned you need whatever resume you have, your LinkedIn profile. You need to get your past performance reviews because guess what? That's where your stories of impact are in what you got rewarded for in the first place. Here's another place to look. Go to the bottom of your LinkedIn profile. Do you have any recommendations? Do you have any skill endorsements? That's also going to be a breadcrumb trail for your stories of impact and who felt impacted by your work. So then the second thing is you've got to chronicle and write out your journey. You need to sit down for probably a couple of hours, like I said, and reflect and think about what it was that helped you move through your career. In chapter 3 of my book, I literally give you all these huge amount of questions to reflect on so you can tease out all this data. And the beautiful thing about doing this work is now we have the beauty and power of AI to help us synthesize in our own words the things that we're writing. It's an incredible tool to be able to use that. So what we're trying to do is figure out where you've been and where you're going. What does that picture for you look like? And when I interview my own clients for their story, we spend 2 hours and we have them walk through everything. I actually start at the beginning, and I don't need a half-hour dissertation on their childhood, and I'm not a therapist, so I'm not looking for anything like that. But what I learn is awesome. Some of my clients may have been raised in a family that has a farm. Those people have an incredible work ethic because they have stories of working on the farm and maybe working their way through school. I have other clients who have immigrated to America, maybe they're first gen or they've come on their own for college. They have different kinds of stories of impact. So there's all of these things that each of us has in our background that may tell us who we are as a professional today. Think about that. How might you pull that through? Then, what were the things that informed your education choices? Not all of us even have a degree who might be on the line here today. That's okay. But what is the story behind that? One of my clients, a VP at a major global auto manufacturing company, does not have a degree. Guess what? He can't apply through applicant tracking systems because he can't genuinely say he has a degree. And if that's a requirement for a job, he may get bypassed. So as we've worked together over the past 7 years, he's actually moved into 2 different jobs, ultimately a VP role, all through the power of networking, all through the power of getting those referrals. So what are your choices within education and ongoing education that inform how smart you are today and how you create impact? And then you're going to go through the long journey of typing out your early career to today. So we're not looking for resume facts when we do our career story chronicling. We're looking for the motivations within your career. What decisions were you making as you moved through your jobs? What were some of the identity shaping moments? Can all of you hear and feel and see that this is now going to help you bring the human of you into your storytelling, but factually, authentically, and based on your impact? This is super important. Then you're going to identify the themes and patterns. You're going to step back and you're going to look and you're going to go, I mostly got promoted for all of my jobs. Or, oh, I got tapped on the shoulder to take on a newly created role that never existed in my company before. Or I leave a company every 2 years because I get itchy and there's this new opportunity where I can create impact. We all have a unique story to tell, and you need to go find and look for those themes and patterns so you can build it into the tell me about yourself. What are you most known to do? And then you need to write your own narrative. This isn't a biography, and it's not something you cut and paste into your LinkedIn about summary. Definitely don't do that. And I'm sure we have some LinkedIn experts on here too who say, don't do that, because what we need to do for our about summary is align it to the way that AI reads our profiles. So this is all about your tell me about yourself is what we're talking about today. What have you been consistently known throughout your career to do? Super powerful work that you can do for yourself. So we're going to talk about a case study. This is an actual client, anonymized, because that's how we do it. So this is Kayla, uh, an incredible operations leader. This is what Kayla could say about herself when I first met her. I am a consumer-centric and strategic business and operations leader with deep expertise in sales, marketing, retail, and wholesale across 5 industries. This is very impressive, and I bet there is a percentage of people on this line today who actually could resonate with that and say, I could put that on my LinkedIn profile. And the reason why I have a person yawning at the bottom is this sounds like a generic elevator pitch. Consumer centric, strategic, blah, blah, blah. The only thing about this that I think actually stands out to me is the industry experience, because not everyone's going to have all of that. So let's break down Kayla's story so you can see how complex it actually is and then where she ends up. So this is a very busy slide. So if you are folding laundry, you may want to look up and pay attention. So what we did after I unpacked Kayla's story is we broke it into what I call 3 thirds: early career, mid-career, and recent career. For executives and leaders who may be 50 and beyond, and a lot of crazy experiences in their career, you may need 4 columns. So in my book, I actually talk about this and allow for that. This is flexible for however you need to use it. So in Kayla's early career, she started off at Nordstrom and she worked her way up. She had a team and she worked her way through school. This is a person who has incredible grit, who was doing all the things in her early career. And then she moved into operations leadership, where she had 20 simultaneous commercial and residential projects going at once, giving her also global experience. So now we've gone from Nordstrom, the pinnacle of sales, and so on, with leadership, to an individual contributor role where she now gets global experience. In her mid-career, she moves into a premium handbag and leather goods company. She's the marketing manager and retail store GM, and then moves into a toy designer and manufacturer, also with global experience, and during the pandemic. So she's growing her toolkit during one of the hardest times in human history. And then she becomes a corporate communications manager and a VP of operations. And then her more recent career, not including what she landed when we were working together, she's at another great company now, but she became the director of sales and marketing and moved into a marketing and operations and technology implementation role. Each of these things was new and different as she accumulated these experiences. So she moves into a manufacturing environment. She gets warehouse experience. She manages fleets of vehicles, etc. So accumulating tons of crazy experience that's not like I was in engineering my whole life, or I did marketing or HR. I was in HR and all that stuff makes sense. Her story didn't make sense enough to her to actually share it. So what's missing from her story so far? The unique differentiators. What are her strengths? What is her leadership approach? What informs the why behind what she does? So we unpacked that first. We then unpacked her story. We laid out the 3 thirds. And then we got to clustering a few ideas for her. This was super complicated. But what we unpacked was she is most known for joining consumer-centric premium brands. If you know Nordstrom's, we already know that is true. She is all about culture, business processes, and joins companies when they are a hot mess and helps create stability and shores up teams. She is big on woo. If you're a StrengthsFinder fan, she is a big wooer, winning others over with exceptional communication. And then the sectors: fashion, beauty, toy, packaging, and manufacturing. That's a lot of complicated stuff. That's not a straight line. Then business operations and functional oversight. This woman has overseen all these departments or functions that you see on the slide. And then we talk about what is her unique experience. On top of this that we haven't even covered, acquisition integration, risk management and safety, which requires a legal lens, global and international experience, and managing creative teams, which she said was one of the hardest things she ever did for the toy manufacturer, and then fleet management for the manufacturing company. And then we started to infuse her strengths finder strengths and her leadership approach. We're starting to see more of an individualized picture for Kayla. So we might get to a through line like this. I stabilize premium customer-centric brands when growth outpaces operations and culture. That's almost kind of an elevator pitch if you really want to have one. And what are the proof points? Nordstrom, luxury handbags, global toy distribution, skincare, high-end packaging, 5 industries with all of that functional expertise. Now Kayla has something to work with. She might say, I run operations for premium consumer-centric brands when growth outpaces the infrastructure. Luxury handbags, global toy distribution, skincare manufacturing, high-end packaging, based in Portland with teams across Hong Kong and China. Sales, marketing, HR, IT, warehouse, and fleet. Whatever function is not working, it's broken because we've grown. I've run it. I've led acquisition integrations, rebuilt safety and compliance programs, and turned outperforming sales teams into record revenue. Can you all see how a very, very complicated, twisty-turny, 5 industry across, all of these different kinds of jobs can be straightened out into something that you can actually say. So the reason why I bring one of my most complicated stories forward is to give you hope. If you're stuck in your own jar, having a hard time reading the label, this is a way that you can unpack it on your own. You can do this yourself. You can use these frameworks and you can tease it out. Okay, why this is powerful is this will now be easy for you to remember because you've done the work. You're not guessing what people need to know. You know what you need to tell them. It's authentic. It's grounded in your truth. It's foundational for storytelling. Remember, storytelling is in the resume. It's in your LinkedIn. It's in your interview stories. It's when you talk to people and get referrals. But if you don't start with the foundation, you're on shaky ground. And it's going to provide context and relevance for those stories. If you start with your foundation and you know what you need to be saying, now it frees you up to do research on companies, research on the people who have these problems, so you can take your sharp toolkit and start to align it with how you can solve those problems. Do you feel me? Are you with me? I'm checking the chat. Are we awake? I'm dropping down as much as I can in 50 minutes. So you need to go through this journey and do this. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I love love. I love it. I love it. I like to know it's landing. So self-reflection. Can you point to the why behind your career shifts? Do you know this for yourself? And yeah, you could spend a couple minutes just like contemplating, grabbing a cup of coffee. But when you do this real work and you unpack it down to the micro, it is another level. So let's talk about this 3/3 framework. I go through this in my book, and I also have a 4 quarters. This is a simple process. It's creating a table with 3 columns. What was happening in your early career, what was happening in your mid-career, and then your recent career. This is a structure to do it. And when you do the tell me about yourself narrative, you are, especially if you're like me, I'm in my mid-50s right now, nobody wants to hear anything more than about 30 seconds on that early career. You're just like, early career, I did these things. If I was to say that right now to you all, I'd say, early career, I spent a decade in Intel in recruitment as an HR business partner and in training. And then I would move into my mid-career. You need to be able to get to the tell me about yourself answer. And you can do this with very short, focused bullet points so that you create a mental model for yourself. And my clients, when they do this 3/3, sometimes they'll create the tables. They print it out. They put it over the lens right over, because a lot of our conversations are on Zoom. And if they can just glance up and go and remind themselves, oh yeah, early career, I did these things. And you don't have to read it, and you shouldn't read it because people will see that. But if you can just glance up and remind yourself what you want to say, if you do this a few times, you won't need that piece of paper anymore. Okay, so the career thread are the themes and the patterns running through your specific unique career. In chapter 4, you can pull out all of the detail to create a career data vault that goes back to your early career to today to provide that vault of evidence. That work is real. That work is important. We're not discussing all of that today, but those are your impact points that then go on the resume. So now you have your story. You do chapter 4 and pull out all of your career data, stories of impact. Now you can create your resume. Or if you're working with a resume writer, professional writer, then you can bring all of my clients. I work with writing partners. They take all of this work and the writer gets everything. So they're not starting from ground zero. They're starting with a massive vault of data. Okay, so how are we going to move from qualified to compelling? Because remember, being qualified isn't enough. A lot of you may be out there spraying and praying, using the applicant tracking systems, job boards, applying. We know that these systems are broken. We know it's very hard to get seen in these systems and bubble into candidate searches. Is it possible? Yes. It's only going to be a tiny percentage of time. Tiny. And if you're an executive, make that even tinier. You really need to get to this place where you can tell your stories so well that people are able to refer you. And you need to give them compelling stories to do it. So what story does your resume not tell yet? What have you loved being known for? And if someone created a job post just for you, what would they be solving for? What's your unique toolkit that you would apply? So we're answering this question with these stories. Why you? Why you? If you are lucky enough to go through an interview process, you have to assume there's other minimally qualified people to be there too. So you're sitting in a waiting room and there's 4 other people there, virtual or otherwise, and they're all qualified also. We're trying to get to your unique value proposition. Okay. The question that you've got to walk away with when you get through these chapters 1 through 5, this process, is what can you do unquestionably better than your competition? What can you do unquestionably better than your competition? If you're using AI to spit out generic resumes and generic wording on your LinkedIn profile, you're not standing out, because these poor recruiters and the hiring managers see the same exact wording on hundreds and hundreds of applications. And for those of you in this audience, like me, I've got 2 sons in their 20s that have just gotten out of college. And I have a husband who's a corporate exec, now turned college professor. We all have these conversations that the professors are seeing the same exact wording in school papers. And so the same thing happens to professors as recruiters and hiring managers. If you were sitting at the dinner table with one of your high school or college age child, you would say, don't use AI and just copy paste. I'm doing the same for you. If you're a job seeker, don't do it because you're not standing out. I promise you. Okay. So before I move into an offering that I have for you all, I want to pause just for a moment and see if we have some questions about telling our career stories and finding that career thread. What came up for you? What questions do you have? And I don't know if people are able to come off mic or if it's just in the chat. If Kitty or one of our other co-hosts here could share with me. Michael.
So thanks, Gina, for this information. One question.
Yeah.
You know, I forget what you called it earlier. It was earlier it was about the narrative and that kind of stuff. Is it should you focus more on the soft skills versus the hard skills?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. Thank you. When you go through this process and you unpack your unique identifiers, that's going to help you with the soft skills. And I'm going to say, especially for a CTO like you, it's the leadership, it's partially the strengths finder strengths, because that's how you do what you do. And then it's partially the leadership approach from chapter 2. How do you lead people and teams during times of change? I use the adaptive leadership model, not because it's the ultimate model, because there's 6 distinct principles of adaptive leadership, and I can help you question yourself and tease out how you lead. Then you build your stories of impact. That's chapter 7 is your interview stories, and I have all my frameworks in there. So you build your stories, and then when you tell your stories, you're infusing the how behind the what. Does that make sense? So everything I've done with Career Velocity is built brick by brick to get you to that point.
Yep. Thanks.
Sure. So soft skills are massively important, but one thing that makes me really bothered is there was a study that came out of the Rutgers Women's School of Business a couple of years ago, and it really steamed me because the article was essentially about how caregivers have all these essential skills that apply in the workplace, and we should be very open to caregivers coming back into the work environment. Of course, I believe in all that. But the whole thing was about soft skills, and it didn't tell the prospective job seeker how to use that when you talk about yourself. It was like, hey everyone, we should appreciate soft skills. That is not going to land you a job. And I'm not poking at you, Michael. I mean people. It's not going to land us. I'm very enthusiastic, can you tell? I wrote an article about it. It made me really, really upset. You have to be able to explain how you apply the soft skills, or else it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I have good communication skills. Like, who cares? How do you communicate? Who? How do you influence them? Any other questions, folks? Catherine?
Yes. Hi, Gina. I love everything you've said. It's very enlightening.
Thank you.
It feels to me that it really applies to people who have been strategic in their career path, and that there's been some kind of progress or maybe growing in seniority, possibly throughout their career. What about people who have parts of their career history happen because they got laid off or they had an illness and maybe they had to take a survival job, doing something completely different. And now they're trying to get back in the stream of what they were doing. How do you talk about those jagged edges or those,
I love that question. And I will say, creating your through line is unique to you, any individual. And the people that I work with have not necessarily been strategic about their career path or moves. Sometimes it kind of happens to us, like the layoff scenario, an illness like you mentioned. And so that's part of the unique journey. My unique journey is I took a 15-year break to raise 2 sons, and thank goodness they turned out okay. But that's why I did it. And I was lucky enough to do it. And so we all have our unique story to tell. And Kayla's example, that was not all strategic. It was, I mean, some of those jobs, like she ended up working for a CEO who got cancer, and then they replaced him with someone else, and she had to leave because it was toxic. It was horrible. So like there's these unique things that happen in the journey that aren't always like intentional. And that's part of, now I would caution anyone who leans too hard on the personal stories of like, well, I got, part of my story is I got cancer and I had to go through that. And I wouldn't necessarily throw that down in the tell me about yourself. I would just keep it a little more high level. Does that help?
Yes, kind of in a theoretical way, but I'm thinking like literally you're in an interview with someone, you're doing the tell me about yourself and you're feeling good about it because, you used to have an amazing career and then, stuff got hard and now you're doing something unexpected. And if they're like, oh, so tell me, what are you doing at this current role?
I love that. Let me, because I felt like I wasn't quite there. So I worked with a number of people, particularly I'm an Intel alum and, some of the Intel folks have hired me after getting a layoff, and some of their stories are among the hardest to tell because they'll be working on a project and then 12 to 18 months later it gets canceled and defunded and then they move to something else. And I'll tell you, in 10 years time out of 20, they won't have any results. So then they get laid off and now they're swimming in a sea of everybody. And so some of them, if they're tenacious, land contract jobs or land, they're doing things in the margins. That's part of the story too. I was with Intel for 20 years, or I was doing these jobs, and then the business started suffering, and I was a part of a team of 20 that got let go. And in the meantime, as you know, the job market's really tight, and ever since COVID, it's been crazy. I decided to start my own LLC and take on some projects in order to keep my skills sharp and to keep networking with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that help? Yeah. Am I getting closer?
Yes, definitely. And it's what I suspected pretty much, but I guess I'm still looking for this like ultimate insight I can have that's going to make me finally feel like I own my story that has felt kind of herky jerky,
You're not alone. You're not alone at all. And unpacking the story is part of that process. And I know it's hard to read the label when you're inside of the jar, and so, even if you have what I call, even if you're not into getting a coach, you may have friendlies that are willing to unpack that with you once you do some of that front end work and say, I'm not sure what I'm going to be talking about here or how I'm going to talk about X or Y, and go get some advice. Yeah. So, and I also have an article. If you direct message me, I'm going to send you an article that may give you some perspective too. It may or may not. I'm going to go through a couple more slides and I'm going to come back to Anne because I just want to make sure you all have an offering that I have brought forward for you. I do career coaching. I have a program. It's Career Velocity. I'm not here to sell you on hiring me for my Career Velocity program. I also do interview prep packages, etc. But I have this super cool thing that I developed that I'm going to share with you today. And you do not have to be an executive to appreciate this course. So this is a course that I developed. I call it a nano course. It only takes an hour to watch the videos. And it is to help you avoid the job board trap. Meaning, if you're sick of applying through applicant tracking systems and not getting heard, I have developed through this little program 5 strategies to help you avoid that and to try to get those referrals that you need to get. So this is called How Your Next Executive Role Finds You. That was just the theme that I had going. And I interviewed 7 executives, and they all told me their stories of how they made these transitions without applying. And so we don't get hired the same way. I graduated in 1991 from Arizona State, and it is not the same as it is today. We need those referrals, and we need strategies to do it. So the 5 strategies that I uncovered through the 7 conversations is, having that clear, unique value proposition that you can talk to, that you're known for. Using your leadership and soft skills, like Michael had, asked about. Consulting. So Catherine, this is the article I'm happy to send directly to you. You don't have to buy the course. I will send you the article, how you use consulting as a bridge and talk about yourself. Thought leadership and then volunteer leadership. These are really great stories. You get to download all 7 stories. You get a workbook and you get the 7 videos. It's $199. It's less than what I charge for my hourly coaching. And here's the cool thing. If you take the course and you send me your reflection workbook notes, I will offer you a 45-minute free coaching call to review your strategy. So it's kind of better than 2 for the price of 1. So if this is something interesting to you, you may get even 1 nugget of the 5 strategies that changes your trajectory. For some people, it might be, oh, I didn't think to volunteer and do these things in this certain way. You're going to get a story from Angela Shah on that. Shantanu Gupta, a former Intel colleague of mine, he talks about consulting as a bridge. So pretty awesome stories that are very inspirational. So I want to share that with you. I did write a book. It's called Qualified Isn't Enough. It's only $9.99 digital on Amazon, or $19.99 if you want the actual book itself. Bada bing. And my frameworks, as you can hear, are in there because we don't need any more tips. We need frameworks to go to work for us. And if you don't do this work, you may feel like you're kind of, spinning your wheels. So if this is a good option for you, I encourage it. And I also point to other resources very heartily in the book. I'm a huge fan of the 2-Hour Job Search by Steve Dalton. I give that to all my clients, and then I just let my son borrow the other book, or else I'd float it out here, because he's going to do salary negotiation with Kate Dixon, and she's got a book called Pay Up. So these are the things I buy for my clients. So we still have a few minutes. I can't believe it, Jessica, I did it. So Anne, let me answer your question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you. So my question is, I guess I relocated to Phoenix and I had a career with the federal government prior to moving here.
Okay.
For a multitude of reasons, I decided not to stay federal.
Okay.
And I've just been working in education, started out substitute teaching, got hired on full time, but I'm finding Arizona leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to education. So I'm looking back federal again, and also private sector, which I haven't been in a long time. So I'm just wondering, like, how do I kind of talk about that? And also when it comes to references, professional references, I'm contracted. So like I have no employment verification for substitute teaching. Like it's all done through a third party 1099 system. So I know that's kind of like a lot of different information, but I'm just kind of wondering how to frame, I guess, my experience now that I'm mid-career. Last time I looked for a job, I was early career. And so now I'm like, how do I do this? I have a tendency to doubt myself a lot and like not talk myself up, which everyone says you're supposed to do. So if
Yeah,
you can,
you have to. You're your own best advocate. But Anne, would you rephrase what the question is that like? I got context, but I'm not sure what I'm.
so how do you talk about like maybe a little bit of a different industry that you're coming from and how you're trying to apply that to a new different sort of job, I guess?
Yeah, okay, I have an answer. Okay, so with job search strategy, that's step 8, is what I recommend in navigating maybe industry change, job function change. That's kind of an unknown, and it's very difficult to apply online and get seen in an applicant tracking system when a recruiter is doing skill matches and a direct match. They're going to start with people that are direct matches. That puts a person at a disadvantage if they're not that skill match. So I recommend holding informational conversations with people who do the work that you want to do or hire for the work that you want to be doing. I give 2 frameworks in chapter 8. One is take with you a SWOT analysis. Tell me about the strengths of your company, the weaknesses of your company, and the opportunities that your company is trying to seize, and then what's threatening success. When we start to get conversations through informationals without asking for a job, we start to learn what the problems are, and then we can back channel into our own story. That's the phase 1 on how we might position ourselves. Then the other thing that you might want to do is Steve Dalton has a really great formula for informationals. What are the trends? What are the insights you have for me? What advice do you have? What resources do you recommend as I navigate this career change? I'm working with a very young professional right now who doesn't have a college degree, who wants to get into the AI space. He's doing contract projects. He won't be able to land a job likely through an applicant tracking system. So his job right now is talking to as many people as he can to figure out what skills am I missing? Are there certifications that are absolutely essential? So you need to go figure out what the elephant in the room is, what's stopping you from getting that job, and you got to uncover it. Tell people, I need to know what's going to stop me from getting considered. That's my recommendation. And does that
Yeah, that definitely helps. Thank you very much.
Cool. And then Steve talks about tiara in his book, but he, with beautiful grace, let me use it in my chapter 8 as well. So you have both of those like frameworks. I think informationals seem hard when we approach it as in I'm looking for a job, but if we instead flip it and say I'm looking for information, it doesn't become yucky. And then the second article in this How Your Next Executive Role Finds You, the interview is with Keith Tomajan. He went from heading the United Way in Portland to an executive role for Dutch Brothers. And he did it through this exact method that I'm explaining right now, which is ask other people how to get smarter about that career transition. He literally says that. That's a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. So I am at time, everyone. I will be here for the breakout rooms. And so Jessica and team, thank you for inviting me. I'm gonna go off mic and camera so Minky
Great.
can go because I can't
Thank
wait
you
to hear her.
so much. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for being
Sure.
here. Thank you for your talk. If you all have more questions, I know some people had their hands raised. If you have questions, Gina's going to be available during the breakout session. So you can go ask your questions, your individual questions directly to her. And also we have other coaches as well. So they will be available. And now we're going to move over to Minky Kernacs, and she is the co-founder and CEO of Mercury Analytics, and is a strategic advisor who helps organizations achieve measurable results by aligning strategy, technology, and the way people actually work. Operating at the intersection of data, AI, security, and governance, she specializes in navigating complex environments where clarity, accountability, and execution are critical. And she's known for translating technical complexity into actionable strategies. So her work spans across AI adoption, modernization, compliance, and large-scale organizational integration. And when I asked Minky about, hey, could you come and talk about skills, AI skills in the workplace? And I said, you're an expert. And she goes, listen, if anyone tells you they're an expert, they're wrong. And so she's doing the best she can, but she does have experience in this place. So please help me welcome Minky Kernacs. Yay.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for having me. And I think I'm going to just change my entire presentation based on what Gina just shared because it's spot on. And I hope that what everyone gets out of this is I'm going to show the technical aspect of how you leverage AI to support what Gina was talking about. So thank you so much for having me again. And I'm going to take off my corporate hat and talk to you as a friend because this is such a chaotic time. And if I can just get a quick show of hands, how many of the people have actually gone and done more with AI, be it ChatGPT, Claude, than simply just do a quick chat with it? So you've built agents and things like that on your own? Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, then I am definitely going to just talk about what is actually going to be needed in the skills going forward. So let me start with the shift that most people are feeling, but they aren't saying. The future of work will not belong to the person chasing every AI tool. There are so many that are coming out. It's not the tool itself. It's going to belong to the person who knows how to use AI to think better, decide faster, and create stronger outcomes. And a great experiment would be to do this for your job searches. So you should be learning the tools and experimenting with them to understand what they can do and as well as get comfortable using them. But the tools, platforms, and functionalities that you're going to be learning today are going to morph and change tomorrow. And this is the best time to start and really understand how they work and what they can do for you. So today is not a tour of AI tools. Today is more about you, how you stay relevant, how you sharpen the skills that AI cannot replace, how you communicate your value in the market that's changing really fast, and how you use AI as an advantage. If you've been watching recent studies and activities lately, a lot of companies that laid off a lot of workers due to the promises that AI companies shared are hiring those people back. And it's not because AI can't do it, it's because AI can't do it. So you're not competing with AI, you're competing with other people that know how to leverage AI to make faster and better decisions. And AI is not your career strategy. AI is the amplifier, and you are still the strategy. So don't chase the tools. Use it to build judgment that the tools can't replace, because AI helps you move faster, but your judgment and focus decides where faster should go. Let's go to the next slide, please. So as Jessica said, my background is, a little bit about me. I'm the chair for the Arizona Technology Council's AI Ecosystem Committee, where we really show people how to leverage AI with, be it in implementation or education, as well as workforce development. So my work is always centered around turning complexity into clarity across aerospace, finance, retail, government, security, and I move organizations from fragmentation to cohesiveness by aligning strategy, people, technology, and governance, so that transformation becomes forward focused, sustainable, and measurable. And the one pattern that shows up everywhere is the people who succeed through change are not always the ones who know the most. They're the people who can ask questions and question those assumptions, learn quickly, connect ideas, and stay focused on what matters. And this is really important right now, because this time in history is extremely noisy. The marketing is loud, the FOMO is real, and no one has mastered the entire landscape because it's constantly changing and we're all learning in real time. But somewhere between I played with ChatGPT and AI will solve everything is where the real world work will actually get done. And this is where judgment, curiosity, adaptability, and experience matter. So when Gina was talking about soft skills, you need that, but you need to show how you're using those soft skills to generate the outcomes rather than just spinning wheels. Let's go to the next slide. So AI is not replacing people. AI is replacing tasks, and that gives us a much smarter way to think about our careers. AI can help you see your job as a collection of tasks. So you can protect the value instead of protecting outdated activity. And I'll give you an example of this. When I started my career, one of the standard job application questions was, how many words can you type per minute? When was the last time anybody asked you that? That nobody cares about that anymore. So some tasks will be automated, some will be accelerated, some will become less valuable, and some will become more important than ever. And those are the ones that are the thinking, critical thinking, especially, as well as questioning and the what ifs. So the real risk is staying attached to tasks that no longer prove your value. So focus on which parts can AI help you do faster, better, and consistently, and which parts still require your judgment, ethics, creativity, and experience. In technology, we have a saying, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And that is really important right now. And that's where expertise, wisdom, and judgment really come into play. And that is something that AI will not take over. So your value is in knowing what matters, why it matters, what could go wrong, and what a good outcome should look like. And that's the part AI doesn't own. So AI will not replace you and your experience and your expertise, but it will change how you create value. So just because your task may change doesn't mean that your value disappears. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling today, is that their jobs are they're being laid off because of AI advancements, but your value that you bring is irreplaceable. So let's go to the next slide. And so once we see work this way and how it's changing, the next question becomes even more useful. If jobs are changing, what part of my value stays relevant? When people pivot, they often focus too much on titles. Titles are just containers. This is what you did. This is what you were there for. Value is what moves across industries, roles, and markets. So in my career, I have moved from aerospace to insurance to healthcare to government. None of them are related, but there is something that I have taken with me across all of those industries that I bring in, and that is my value, regardless of the tools, regardless of the industry. It's a framework that I take into every job, and it evolves and morphs as technology grows. So it's this lovely container or lovely trajectory that I'm on, that I'm leveraging the tools. So your old title may not fully describe your future value, but your ability to solve problems, lead through ambiguity, connect ideas, make sound decisions, and create outcomes can move with you. And leveraging AI as your personal career partner is really going to help you identify what those are and help you make those decisions faster. And later on, I'll show you what I'm sharing with my friends on how to look for a job and how to see if you're actually a good match rather than just going through the application cycle as well. So this is a great time to really understand and explore industries and positions that excite you, because I know someone who is a technologist who is absolutely not creative at all, who is leveraging AI to go and write children's books. Totally different industry, but they're taking a lot of their knowledge and expertise and empathy and moving into a completely different market, and they're doing fantastic. So that is the real pivot. AI can help you see the value beyond your title. So changing how you define and communicate the value you create. And this is where you can just leverage it, not by inventing a new identity for yourself based on something that you haven't done, but really helping you see the pattern already inside your experience. And one of the things that you can do to do this is upload or paste your resume into whichever LLM that you prefer, Claude or ChatGPT. I find ChatGPT these days is better at this, and ask it what patterns show up across my career. And I ask AI to identify transferable skills and ask it to rewrite your experience around the outcomes, not just the titles, but the outcomes. And as Gina said, why you? Why were you the one that could do this that nobody else could? And use it to clarify what value moves with you across all industries. And for me, I spent years describing my work through technology, data, security, analytics, governance, architecture, AI. But when I stepped back across my career, I saw the deeper through line. I create coherence. I align strategy, technology, people, so organizations can move forward with clarity. And that I can take across any industry that I go into. And so that's really the value behind the title. Let's go to the next slide. And once you understand that value, the value can move forward with you. The next question becomes, what skills makes the value stronger in an AI-driven world? Because employers are no longer asking, what do you know? They're asking, how fast can you learn, adapt, and apply what you know? Because applied knowledge is priceless. Knowledge, tools are going to change, industries are changing, roles are changing, compliance and regulations are changing, and even the way work gets done is changing, but the learning velocity compounds. So the more that you're exposed to what AI can do and what it can't do is a real differentiator. Your career is no longer just about your resume. It's about learning, thinking, networking, and the ability to use AI with judgment. And this is why curiosity matters. Learn the tools, but don't stop at the tools. Use them to ask better questions, explore where your industry is going, test your ideas, and sharpen how you think. Because the professionals who stand out will not be the ones pretending to know everything. They're going to be the ones that keep learning, applying, and turning new knowledge into value. One of the things that Gina talked about is rambling. I am famous for rambling. I can go on and on like I just did. But basically, I have seen articulation training all over social media. I leveraged my ChatGPT projects to create an articulation training course for me that I do once every day I try to do it, but it helps me really sharpen what I want to say. So when she was talking about the elevator pitch and your storyline, it really helped me hone in that skill. And it is tailored to me because my subscription knows my background, it knows the way I think, and it knows my entire work history. So it's really helped me hone in that skill when I need to present myself to someone. But again, I'm talking to you as a friend, so that's why I'm just sharing this with you. And so what I do in my teams is I don't really care about the certifications because the certification shows that I've done it. I care more about how do we apply that new knowledge into what we're doing. And I always ask the questions of what if and how can we? And that is creating that innovative approach of how do we make this even better? How do we test this hypothesis to actually make a solution that people are going to use and that they're going to love rather than kicking their tasks out and saying, you no longer work here. It's how do you keep the human in the loop? It's all about keeping the human in the loop. So those questions really stretch how we think. And in an AI-driven world, that's going to be the most valuable skill of all, is really questioning rather than just saying, oh, this is what the AI generated and told me to do. Let's go to the next slide. Because the future is not going to reward the person that knows everything, it's going to reward the person that can learn, adapt, and apply faster as the work changes. And if learning velocity is one side of the equation, the other side is the set of human skills that AI makes even more important. And these are adaptability, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and continuous learning. And these are not soft skills, they're survival skills. Because AI can generate options and people create trust. AI can summarize all the information, but people can understand context. AI analyzes patterns, but people make judgment calls. And AI can draft beautiful words, but people build the meaning and the alignment and belief behind those words. And when the tools keep changing, your value comes from how well you think, communicate, adapt, and apply judgment. And the more AI can do, the more human judgment matters. Let's go to the next slide. So the question really becomes,
Yeah, I don't see your slides anymore.
Oh yeah, Jess, I'm not sure. Did she fall off?
Yeah, something went wrong. Hold on 1 second.
Yep, she's pulling her back up. Sorry, Minky.
No problem. I have a few more slides, so I'm just going to go through it really fast. One of the ways to do this. So what I'm going to do is on how you look for a job. You can actually, ChatGPT just came out with a great schedule task where you load your resume and you can actually just go and it will find jobs relevant to you with 3 simple questions. You don't even have to use any coding or any prompts. It will ask you, and you can rate yourself on a 1 out of 10. How do I rate for this position? Because one of the things that it's supposed to do is save time. And I hate when people spend a lot of time on a job that they're really not qualified for. So why would you even bother? So how well of a match you are, as well as where do they need to strengthen their positioning? And once you start using AI this way, the next step is learning how to build that bridge between where you are and where the market's going. So this is one of the biggest mindset shifts. Most people are in transition, are chasing. They're chasing roles, recruiters, openings, the next opportunity. And of course, you should still apply and network and show up. But a better strategy is to become more visible. Because your resume shows where you've been, but your perspective shows how you think. And that's why sharing your thoughts matter. And it's not about posting on LinkedIn just for the sake of posting. It's about creating real evidence about what you're doing, how you think, what you're learning, and what problems you're understanding. And it's about getting rid of the noise that's out there. And so AI can really help you communicate what you're learning. Because people don't only hire experience, they hire clarity, judgment, relevance, and trust. And so don't just chase the future, become recognizable to it. Jess, we're going to go to number 8. And so this is not meant to scare you. It's meant to be a clarifying moment. The person using AI is not automatically smarter than you, but they are learning faster, they're testing faster and positioning faster. And that's why that exposure matters. I know I've talked a lot about this and using AI, but I'll give you an example of what I did. As a software developer, I wanted to see what Claude Code was when it first came out. And I wanted to see what it could do without me coding anything. I created the most beautiful bartender app that told jokes of any kind that you wanted in less than 30 minutes with no coding. And I did this just to understand what it can do and what it can't do and where it really struggled. And that's where my expertise came in. And I said, okay, I understand how we can leverage AI to remove, coding jobs, but where does that real expertise lie and where does it fit into a vibe coding type of environment? And it's been great because my friends love the app, but it also showed me a lot of clarity as far as how to leverage AI. It made my work 90% better, as far as faster that it goes. And so once you start using AI with discernment, it stops being something to fear. And becomes much more useful, and it's a career multiplier. And I know I've talked a lot about soft skills, but it's really about learning what you can do with it to make yourself faster, better, and more clear on which way you're going. So with that, I'm 2 minutes over. Sorry about that, Jessica.
You are okay. Did you have Minky a LinkedIn URL or a place that people could reach out to you available?
Yes, so I am on LinkedIn. It's just Minky Kernacs on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me there. I'll be in the breakout session as well.
Awesome. It was really, really great content. Sorry we lost your slides for a second, but it was really, really great content. I think it's encouraging to know that, AI is not necessarily taking jobs, but really the tasks associated with jobs because the value of people is there, and that's important. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for talking about what AI looks like as we're moving forward. And so Minky is going to be available in the breakout session. I had a couple of you reaching out to me individually saying, where did you find her? She knows she's great. And so thanks again, Minky. We appreciate you being here and sharing with us your expertise there. All right, you guys, we are going to move into the breakout session of the call. And so what's going to happen now, I'm going to go through a couple slides here and some resources. And so Jess, if you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide here. If you have any feedback for us, please send that over. You can reach out directly to our email at contact@careerconnectors.org. I am just queuing up the next year's speaking lineup. And so if you have topics you feel like you would love to see in the future, we would love to hear about that. And then on the next slide, it's going to talk to you about some resources that we have. You heard earlier Gina talk about some behavioral assessments. One of them that we can provide you guys at no cost is called the DISC assessment. And so it will take you about 10 minutes or so to take. And the DISC assessment is going to give you insight into your behavioral traits, your ideal work environment. It'll give you some key tips on interviewing based on your style. And so when you're going to get an email today after this call And then we'll have a link to that, to our resources, including the disc. And we'll also have a link to the playback of this recording. Sometimes the recording doesn't get uploaded. It takes some time to render. And so it doesn't get uploaded until later this afternoon or this evening. So it might not be immediate that it's available, but it will be up there. And then, of course, we are available on the different social media platforms. And so stay connected. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. I want to talk about the Resume Writers and Coaches Association. We have a couple ladies on the call today that are from the RWCA, and they're available for you to review your resume. If you have any questions about how you're representing yourself, and they are the professionals. So these are ladies that are certified and know how to get through the applicant tracking software, the keywords, what the hiring managers are looking for, and so they stay on top of the trends and they go through their certification process every year. So you can reach out to them. RWCA.org is also their website, and they have a whole bunch of their writers there. And then we are working with Best Companies AZ. So Sydney Patrick is on the call today, and they are representing award-winning companies. And you can see on the next slide, there's a whole bunch of companies that are an example of some of the ones they're representing. So they award companies that are best places to work, not only in Arizona, but nationally. And so many of these companies are based in Arizona because that's where we're based. But so they have in-person positions here, as well as many remote positions or hybrid positions. So these companies can apply to everybody that is on the call. And again, they're award-winning companies, and Sydney will be available in the breakout sessions as well. Okay, go ahead on to the next slide. And these are some of the examples of what the company's awards look like. Fortune 100 winners, best workplaces for parents, things like that. Those are the kind of companies that we bring in and show you guys through Best Companies AZ. All right. And then I want to talk about our upcoming events we have here. We do these once a month, and we try and bring in topics that are relevant to your search right now. And so you can, August 14th is our next one, and we're going to talk a lot about your personal brand on LinkedIn. And then we're going to bring in one of the top voices on AI and the job search. So this will be less on the skills and actually on utilizing it for your job search. And so that's on August 14th. And then on September 10th, we're going to talk about pivot, don't start over, and leveraging your existing skills. And then you're going to hear about career blind spots as well. So those are coming up at our next couple events. All of those can be found on careerconnectors.org. All right. And then I want to tell you guys about this program that we have launched, our upcoming launch for 2027. And this one is specific to women and women that are rising leaders. And so if you or someone you know is a rising leader, and we are launching Inspired Lead Her 2027 cohort, and we're taking applications right now. So it's a 7-month leadership program. We actually took a year off. 2026, we took a year off because AI was changing the way the business was getting done, and we wanted to make sure we had the right curriculum. And so we brought in some of these experts in this track. And so we have integrated AI fluency into this program. And so if you or someone you know is an upcoming leader, woman leader, then we would love to take an application from them to be part of this 7-month leadership program. And it is an in-person program, so this is specific to people located in Arizona. We are considering launching a virtual one next year so we can capture everybody. All right. And then if you are interested in our Pathways program, this is one-on-one or individual. It's a coaching program online, but it allows you to go through the full pathway of career. So from the time you get laid off all the way through salary negotiation and offer, and that is a virtual program with videos integrated in. So that's pathways.org. And then on the next slide, you'll see here that it has different modules. You'll have 12 modules. You can go through these very quickly over a month or two, or you can, go through it slowly and reference back through it. Some people will go through it in a month and be done and land a job. And then some people will use it just as a reference as they're going through the process. All right. And then there is a fee. This is one of our fee-based programs. And so there is a fee for this one, $39.99 a month. And then when you're done, and you just disenroll from it. And you're going to get all of these different tools and templates and coaching and accountability. All right. Thank you so much to the team that's here. We have so many volunteers that help make this happen all the time. And so many of them are on the call as coaches as we go into the breakout sessions right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. How about a round of applause to our team and all of our amazing volunteers and coaches. Thank you so much for what you do and for what you bring to Career Connectors in our community. And if you are interested in volunteering or after you land a job, giving back to help somebody move forward, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. And so we do a couple campaigns throughout the year. And so if you're interested in donating, you may do that as well. All right, you guys, we have got to the breakout session portion. And so what's going to happen now is we are going to have each of you click on the breakout sessions. And Jess, if you want to go to the next slide, that slide will list all of our upcoming, or list the breakout sessions. And I'm going to show you how to get there. So on the bottom of your screen, you'll either see a button that says more, or you'll see a button that says breakout rooms. So if it has more, click on more, and you'll click on the breakout rooms icon. In the breakout rooms icon, you will see a list of the breakout rooms. So each of our speakers, go ahead and head off to your breakout room, and then there'll be a blue join button. So if you can click on the blue join button, then that will get you into that breakout room. Now, you do not have to stay in one room the whole time. You can bounce around. You can go get your resume reviewed, and then maybe you want to talk to our career coach, Pamela Heward, and maybe you want to